For millennia, the Nile has sustained civilizations, its waters flowing from the highlands of Ethiopia through Sudan to the deserts of Egypt. It is more than just a river. It is a source of life, history, and national identity for over 250 million people. But today, this ancient river is at the heart of one of Africa's most contentious disputes: the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam, or GERD. This massive hydroelectric project on the Blue Nile, providing 85% of the Nile's water during flood season, has sparked decades of tension between Ethiopia and Egypt. It's a conflict rooted in historical water rights, national sovereignty, economic development aspirations, and regional power dynamics.
My proposal to both President Bashir and President Mubarak was this. Okay, the upper riparian countries, the 7 countries have signed an agreement. In Europe, there is what they call variable geometry. Those countries that move 2 steps together, they move 2 steps together. Those countries that move 1 step together, they move 1 step together. So the 7 countries, if they move 2 steps together, let them move. Then 7 countries and Egypt and Sudan together, if they can only move 1 step, let them discuss about this 1 step. So in the case of Egypt and Sudan, for example, Ethiopia, Egypt and Sudan have a 20-year plan for utilization of the Nile. We can discuss this, and we can have an agreement on this, and we can come back to the water issue at a later stage. But Egypt should not insist that the agreement between Uganda and Ethiopia should be erased.
For Ethiopia, the GERD is a beacon of progress, a symbol of national hope, and a pathway to electrifying a nation. For Egypt, it is seen as an existential threat to its very survival, a potential disruption to a lifeline it has depended on for millennia. To understand the present, we must look to the past. The roots of the GERD conflict stretch back to colonial-era treaties designed to secure Egypt's dominance over Nile waters, often to the exclusion of upstream nations like Ethiopia. The 1902 Anglo-Ethiopian Treaty, signed between Britain and Emperor Menelik II, explicitly forbade Ethiopia from obstructing the Nile's flow. Decades later, the 1929 Anglo-Egyptian Treaty granted Egypt significant annual water allocations and, crucially, the right to monitor Nile activities and veto upstream projects. Ethiopia, despite contributing the majority of the Nile's waters, was neither consulted nor represented in these agreements. The 1959 Nile Waters Agreement between Egypt and Sudan further cemented this downstream control, allocating the vast majority of the Nile's annual flow to them, again without Ethiopian input. Ethiopia, however, consistently and vehemently rejected the legal validity of these colonial arrangements. As early as 1957, Emperor Haile Selassie formally declared Ethiopia's intention to utilize its water resources, stating, "Ethiopia has the right and obligation to exploit its water resources for the benefit of its present and future generations." This marked the beginning of Ethiopia's formal challenge to the colonial water regime. Egypt's response was swift, with President Anwar Sadat famously declaring in 1979 that the only matter that could take Egypt to war again is water, cementing water security as an existential national security issue. During the Haile Selassie era, from 1956 to 1964, the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation conducted extensive studies of the Blue Nile Basin, identifying the very site where the GERD would eventually rise. These studies envisioned ambitious projects, but Ethiopia lacked the financial capacity. and Egyptian diplomatic pressure effectively blocked international funding. Emperor Haile Selassie's prophetic words resonate today. "We don't have the capacity to build a dam on the Abyei at this time. Friendly countries will not support this endeavor for fear of antagonizing Egypt. However, the future generations will build it using its own resources. Keep the study safe." The intervening decades, marked by Ethiopia's civil war under the Derg regime, saw development projects shelved as the nation was consumed by conflict and crisis. Yet, Egypt's vigilance never wavered. Reports even suggest covert operations in the mid-1970s to sabotage Ethiopian equipment destined for Blue Nile projects, demonstrating a willingness to use force to maintain its water monopoly. The 1991 victory of the Ethiopian People's Revolutionary Democratic Front, EPRDF, under Prime Minister Meles Zenawi, marked a fundamental shift. Zenawi, recognizing the Blue Nile as Ethiopia's greatest strategic asset, systematically prepared for dam construction through capacity building and technical studies. His government nurtured domestic engineering capabilities and carefully positioned Ethiopia in regional and international forums, ultimately leading to the Cooperative Framework Agreement in 2010, where 6 upstream countries challenged Egypt's historical veto power. Then, on March 30, 2011, Ethiopia made its move. The announcement of the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam came at a strategically crucial moment. Egypt was in the throes of the Arab Spring Revolution.
Now, there have been 2 explosions in the Egyptian capital.
At least 18 people were killed yesterday, most of them in the capital of Cairo.
Its attention consumed by domestic political chaos. Prime Minister Meles Zenawi seized the unprecedented opportunity, declaring, "Ethiopia's resolve has now reached a point of no return."
Egypt will not be able to stop Ethiopia from building dams on the Nile. That is history.
What truly sets the GERD apart is its financing. Recognizing that Egyptian pressure would block international funding, Ethiopia embarked on an audacious self-financing strategy. Government bonds, voluntary contributions from citizens at home and abroad, and direct budget allocations transformed the GERD from a government project into a national cause, a powerful symbol of unity and self-reliance. The GERD project, while a source of immense pride for Ethiopia, quickly ignited intense opposition from Egypt and, at times, Sudan. The contentions span legal interpretations, political narratives, and hydrological impacts. At its core, the dispute is a fundamental disagreement over legal frameworks. Egypt consistently asserts its historical rights, based on the 1929 and 1959 Nile Waters Agreements, viewing any unilateral action by Ethiopia as a violation of these acquired rights and an existential threat to its water security. Cairo demands a legally binding agreement guaranteeing minimum water releases, especially during droughts. Ethiopia vehemently rejects the validity of these colonial-era treaties, arguing it was never a party to them and is therefore not legally bound. Ethiopia asserts its sovereign right to utilize its natural resources for socio-economic development, grounding its arguments in the principle of equitable and reasonable utilization, a cornerstone of modern international water law. Ethiopia maintains the GERD is a non-consumptive hydropower project that will not significantly affect downstream water availability. Beyond legal texts, specific hydrological and operational aspects fuel the contention. The primary disagreement revolves around the pace of filling the GERD's massive reservoir and its long-term operational rules, particularly during droughts. Egypt fears rapid filling could cripple its agricultural production and water supply, demanding a slower 7-year period. Ethiopia, conversely, seeks operational flexibility to maximize hydropower generation, viewing strict binding agreements as an infringement on its sovereignty. Concerns also persist in Egypt regarding the GERD's impact on its Aswan High Dam and its operational efficiency. The dispute transcends technical arguments, touching upon deeply ingrained national identities and perceived existential security threats. For Egypt, the Nile is integral to its history and identity. Its near-total reliance on the river means any perceived threat to its flow is an existential threat. Egypt faces severe water scarcity, with per capita supply expected to drop below absolute scarcity levels by 2025. In Ethiopia, the GERD is a powerful symbol of national hope, unity, and pride. A modern victory over poverty, built by its own people without foreign funding. It represents Ethiopia's self-determination and a rejection of historical external control over its resources. This deep symbolic value makes any perceived concession on the dam's operation extremely difficult for the Ethiopian government, as it would be seen as undermining national pride and self-determination. Sudan's position as the middle riparian country has been more nuanced. Initially, it showed support, recognizing potential benefits like flood control and electricity. However, Sudan has also expressed concerns about dam safety, impacts on its own Rosaires Dam, and the need for a legally binding agreement. Sudan's evolving stance reflects its complex interests and a desire for stability in the basin. The decade-long GERD dispute has seen numerous rounds of negotiations, often involving various international and regional mediators. Yet, a comprehensive, legally binding agreement remains elusive. In 2012, the International Panel of Experts, IPOE, was established, followed by the Tripartite National Committee, TNC, in 2014, but fundamental disagreements persisted. Ethiopia viewed these as consultative bodies, while Egypt expected binding decisions that could halt or modify the project. Ethiopia consistently maintained its sovereign right to develop its resources, subject only to general international law principles about avoiding harm, while Egypt argued for restrictive approaches that would give downstream countries veto power. A glimmer of hope emerged in March 2015 with the signing of the Declaration of Principles, DOP, in Khartoum. This agreement outlined 10 principles for cooperation, including mutual benefit, equitable utilization, and avoiding significant harm. Egypt saw it as a recognition of downstream rights, while Ethiopia viewed it as an acknowledgement of its sovereign right to develop the Nile for power generation. Sudan, in its balancing act, supported the DOP, seeking benefits like electricity and regulated flows while emphasizing adherence to principles of avoiding harm. However, the optimism was short-lived. Implementation proved difficult as fundamental disagreements persisted. Ethiopian officials interpreted the DOP as general guidance, preserving operational autonomy, while Egypt expected binding operational agreements. By late 2015, frustrations grew, with Egyptian officials publicly expressing disappointment at Ethiopia's continued construction without detailed impact assessments and commitments. As diplomatic efforts stalled, Egyptian rhetoric escalated. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi stated all options were on the table, with military planning considering various responses, including surgical strikes. Ethiopia responded by strengthening its defenses and building regional alliances, with its Air Force commander asserting readiness to crush any airstrikes. In late 2019, the Trump administration intervened, mediating negotiations with the World Bank. Ethiopia proposed filling the reservoir over 5 years, while Egypt demanded a slower 7-year period with larger annual releases. By February 2020, a draft agreement emerged, but Ethiopia withdrew, accusing the U.S. of bias toward Egypt and objecting to pressure that it felt violated its sovereignty. The collapse of these talks highlighted the limitations of external mediation in disputes involving core sovereignty and development rights. The Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam's completion and its scheduled inauguration in September 2025 mark a new phase in this complex saga. The focus has shifted from preventing its construction to managing its long-term impacts. While the dam offers significant economic benefits for Ethiopia and potential long-term advantages for Sudan, it poses substantial economic and environmental risks for Egypt if not managed collaboratively.